when I was reading some of A New Earth yesterday, there was a section about perceiving without naming, and this is one of the aspects of presence that Eckhart talks about, the practice of seeing the world around without naming every single thing, because the result is that when you're not naming all these separate objects in the world, then there is less of an experience of separation. It takes away some element of separation that the mind tends to create by identifying everything as separate entities from oneself. And in the book, he invites you, the reader, to just look at an object in your environment and just see it without commenting on it, without analysing, naming or judging it in any way, or connecting some story with it. And then once you've done that, you're invited to look around the room with this same set of eyes, just perceiving what's around without the mind commenting on it. And as I was doing this, to a greater or lesser extent, well, after doing it rather, once I came back to the book, the thought that came in my mind was that it's like I'm relearning how to live. You know, I'm learning how to live in a way that I was never shown as a child, or that is not part of the cultural conditioning that I and most of the people on this planet have experienced. You know, we've been encouraged from our first attempts at language to name everything and identify everything as separate from ourselves. And of course there's a purpose to that, you know, it's useful, and at some point there's the possibility to transcend that sense of separation. Interestingly, Eckhart says that it's an important part of our evolution in one's lifetime for the ego to evolve. So in children, for example, it's important that their ego, that their sense of identity evolves, and then later in adult life there is the possibility to transcend that identification with the separate self, with the separate identity, which is interesting to me because, of course, the kind of romantic in me imagines this world where children grow up not feeling separate and immersed in this oneness consciousness. And he does also say that it's important to give children the support and encouragement to not inhabit too much the conceptual mind, you know, as much as possible for them to experience life and their reality hands-on through lived experience rather than being always, governed by that voice in the head guiding and analysing. So as a mother of 3, it's a topic that is interesting to me, this idea of how to support our children to be present and also allow them to develop their own identities so that when they're ready they can move beyond that and understand that their identity is not limited to that separate self, but it is in fact vast and unknowable. So yeah, I'm continuing to practice this process of seeing and hearing and touching, and at the same time staying in quiet mind, just perceiving those sensations without the endless commentary of the mind, of that voice in my head. And there was definitely longer periods of stillness in my meditation this morning, perhaps as a result of exercising that I kind of want to say skill, but it's not a skill because there's no doing involved. It's like just the mind becoming less vocal and more content to be without chattering away.